It began with a calendar. Not the kind you hang on a wall, but a leather-bound planner discovered in the back of his desk drawer while searching for stamps. Inside were names, unfamiliar names, carefully written in his distinct handwriting. Birthday reminders, school events, and doctor's appointments for people who shouldn't exist in his life. For 10 years, Michael had built a perfect facade. Successful businessman, loving partner, trusted friend. But behind that carefully constructed image lay another life, hidden in plain sight. Those names in his calendar weren't just random entries. They were the first threads that would unravel everything. As the truth emerged, one question haunted me more than any other. If he could hide an entire family for a decade, what else was he capable of concealing? The anniversary album sat heavy in my lap, its leather cover cool against my fingers. 8 years of memories, meticulously arranged and annotated in my neat handwriting. Michael and I at the Santa Barbara Wine Festival, his arm draped casually around my shoulders as we smiled into the setting sun. Our trip to Kyoto during cherry blossom season, where he proposed beneath a canopy of pink petals. The housewarming party for our Victorian brownstone, both of us giddy with champagne and possibility. I traced my finger across a photo from just 3 months ago, Michael's 40th birthday celebration at Le Bernardin. He wore the midnight blue Tom Ford suit I'd helped him choose, his salt and pepper hair perfectly styled, green eyes crinkled with laughter as he raised a glass to the camera. To my left sat Caroline, my best friend since college, and beside her, Thomas Michaels, business partner and closest confidant. A tableau of perfect contentment. The Michael in these photos was the man I thought I knew, Chief Strategy Officer at Morton & Reed Consulting, monthly contributor to Harvard Business Review, guest lecturer at Columbia Business School. The man who remembered every anniversary, who brought me coffee in bed each morning, who could quote entire passages from Jane Austen because he knew how much I loved her works. But now, with the leather planner lying beside me like a ticking bomb, those memories took on a different hue. Had he been checking his other calendar when he scheduled our anniversary dinners? When he planned that surprise weekend in Vancouver? Had he been messaging his other family? Every moment of joy in this album was suddenly suspect, tainted by the possibility of calculation. I flipped to the beginning, our first date at that tiny Italian restaurant in the West Village. I'd been immediately struck by his attentiveness, the way he listened as if every word I spoke was fascinating. He asked about my work as an art curator, shared stories about growing up in Connecticut, confessed his secret passion for gardening. When he walked me home, he didn't try to kiss me. Instead, he handed me a business card with a quote from Pride and Prejudice written on the back. I cannot fix on the hour, or the spot, or the look or the words, which laid the foundation. It is too long ago. I was in the middle before I knew that I had begun. The memory of that gesture, so perfectly calculated to appeal to me, made my stomach turn. Had he used the same technique with her? Did she also have a collection of thoughtfully annotated business cards, each one evidence of his careful study of her preferences? I reached the last page of the album, a photo from last Christmas. We stood before our expertly decorated tree, my head resting on his shoulder, his hand clasped in mine. The diamond engagement ring he'd given me 4 years ago caught the light. We still hadn't set a date for the wedding. Michael always had a reasonable excuse for waiting. Now I understood why. My phone buzzed with a text from him. Running late. At the office. Don't wait up. Love you. The same message he'd sent countless times over the years. How many of those late nights had been spent with his other family? How many business trips to Chicago or Seattle had actually been carefully orchestrated opportunities to maintain his double life? I closed the album and reached for the planner again. The entry that had first caught my eye was still there. Written, in his precise handwriting, Amy, Parent-Teacher Conference 2 p.m. Under it, in red ink, pick up James from soccer, Amy and James. The names felt foreign in my mind, yet they belonged to his children. His actual legal children with someone. A wife? The thought made me dizzy. The ring on my finger, the symbol of our supposed future together, suddenly felt like it was burning my skin. I slipped it off and placed it next to the album. In the fading afternoon light, both objects seemed to mock me with their promises of permanence, of truth, of love. Everything they represented was as carefully constructed as Michael's perfectly organized calendar, and like his schedule, it was all about to fall apart. The report card was tucked into the back of the planner, crisp and official with the school's letterhead prominently displayed. Westbrook Elementary. School. Fall semester report. The name at the top made my breath catch. Amy Chen, grade 4, Chen Michael's surname. My hands trembled as I read the teacher's comments. Amy continues to excel in mathematics and shows a particular aptitude for creative writing. Her recent story about her father's garden won our class competition. Garden. Michael's secret passion. The coincidence felt like a physical blow. I laid the report card on my desk next to my laptop, which displayed Michael's meticulously maintained Google Calendar, the one he shared with me, the one that showed a business trip to Chicago this week. Opening a new browser tab, I typed Westbrook Elementary School into the search bar. The results showed a private school in Greenwich, Connecticut, Greenwich, where Michael supposedly had a satellite office he visited twice a month. Using skills honed from years of researching art provenance, I began to construct a timeline. The report card was dated 2 months ago. Amy Chen, 4th grade. She would be around 10 years old. I thought back over my 8 years with Michael, calculating. If Amy was 10, she would have been 2 when Michael and I first met. My curator's instinct for patterns and connections kicked in. I opened a fresh document and began typing, approaching this like I would a museum acquisition, Michael's monthly. Trips to Greenwich, regular pattern, always mid-month, usually Wednesday and Thursday. Christmas, business retreats, always December 24, returning late on the 24th. Summer conferences, 2 weeks, always in August. The pattern emerged with horrifying clarity. Every significant holiday, every school break, he had a system. I'd always admired his organizational skills, the way he balanced his busy schedule. Now I understood why he was so meticulous. He had to be. But Amy wasn't the only name in that calendar. There was James, too. Soccer practice, doctor appointments, school events, all carefully noted in Michael's precise handwriting. 2 children, a whole family. My phone chimed with an email notification. Michael, confirming his flight to Chicago, was on schedule, the same flight he'd taken dozens of times before. I pulled up his flight history using the account he'd shared with me for booking travel. American Airlines, first class, Chicago O'Hare. Everything looked normal. Acting on instinct, I opened a different browser, logged into a new email account, and went to the airline's website. Michael's full name and birth date, information any fiancé would know, were all I needed. The airline system showed no reservation for tomorrow. My hands were steady now as I dove deeper. Property records in Greenwich were public. It took less than an hour to find it. A colonial-style house purchased 12 years ago by Michael Chen and Lisa Chen Lisa. I said the name aloud, testing its weight on my tongue. Somewhere in Greenwich, Connecticut, Lisa Chen was probably helping Amy with her homework, maybe watching James at soccer practice, living her life as Michael Chen's wife. His wife. The word echoed in my head as another piece clicked into place. Michael's insistence on keeping our engagement private, claiming it was to avoid workplace complications. His reluctance to set a wedding date, the way he'd expertly deflected whenever I brought up starting a family. I returned to the report card, studying it with new eyes. The teacher's comments continued. Amy's presentation about her family's Japanese heritage was particularly impressive. Japanese heritage. I remembered Michael mentioning his mother was Japanese, one of the few details he'd shared about his family, who were all supposedly deceased. More lies? Or had he simply recycled pieces of his real life to build a convincing backstory for our relationship? I reached for my phone, then stopped. Who could I even call? What would I say? Hey, remember my perfect fiancé? Turns out he has a whole other family? The absurdity of it almost made me laugh. Instead, I took a photo of the report card and created a secure folder on my laptop. Evidence. I would need evidence. The curator in me knew the importance of documentation, of establishing provenance. If I was going to unravel this deception, I would do it methodically, thoroughly. Besides, I needed to be certain. Absolutely certain. Because if what I suspected was true, if Michael had maintained two complete, separate lives for almost a decade, then everything I thought I knew about him, about us, about the past 8 years of my life, was a lie. And I owed it to myself to uncover every last detail of that lie, no matter how much it hurt. The laptop's glow illuminated my face as I stared at the email header, a message from Westbrook Elementary, addressed to michaelchin475@gmail.com. Not his usual business address, not the personal Gmail he shared with me. A completely separate account. I'd found it by accident, or perhaps by inevitability, while searching through an old external hard drive Michael had asked me to archive last year. He'd forgotten to delete a document containing various login credentials. Most were for business accounts, but this one stood out. A simple text file labeled backup. Now, after 3 attempts, I'd guessed the password. The same one he used for everything. Austin 1813. The birth year of Pride and Prejudice. Another calculated touch, designed to appeal to my literary sensibilities. The inbox loaded slowly, revealing years of correspondence. School newsletters, parent-teacher communications, birthday party invitations, soccer league announcements, an entire parallel digital life meticulously maintained. A recent email chain caught my eye. From Ms. Roberts. Subject: Parent-Teacher Conference Follow-Up Date. March 15, 2025. Dear Mr. Chen, thank you for attending Amy's conference yesterday. As discussed, she continues to show remarkable progress in her creative writing. Her story about your family's garden was particularly moving. She clearly inherited your green thumb. I've attached her latest writing portfolio for you and Mrs. Chen to review. Best regards. Karen Roberts, 4th grade. Room 12. Michael's response was dated the same day. A day he'd told me he was at a client meeting in Boston. Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Lisa and I are so proud of Amy's progress. The writing portfolio is wonderful. I've already started clearing space in my garden for the butterfly plants Amy mentioned wanting to add. Best, Michael. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. The urge to reply, to expose him, to shatter his carefully constructed world was almost overwhelming. Instead, I began methodically downloading and saving emails, taking screenshots, creating an archive of evidence. A calendar invitation appeared. Chen Family Dinner, monthly check-in with grandparents. I clicked it open. Every month, like clockwork. Dinner at his parents' house in Stamford. His supposedly deceased parents. The betrayal hid in waves. Each lie uncovered revealed 3 more beneath it. His parents weren't dead. They were an active part of his other family's life. They knew about Lisa, about Amy and James. Did they know about me? Was I the secret one? A new email notification popped up in the corner of the screen. Michael, sending his usual evening check-in from his business trip, just finished a productive day of meetings. Missing you. Sleep well, love. And the casual tenderness of it made my stomach turn. How many similar messages had he sent to Lisa? Over the years? Did he use the same words, the same signature sign-off? I could picture him composing both emails, probably within minutes of each other, maintaining his dual narrative with practiced ease. I returned to the school emails, following threads, building a clearer picture. James had won his soccer championship last month. Amy was going to play the lead in the school play. Lisa was organizing the spring fundraiser. Normal family moments, documented in pixels and bytes. Then I found the photo attachments. Michael, at James's games, cheering from the sidelines. Michael helping Amy plant her first flowers. Michael and Lisa at the school gala, his arm around her waist, both beaming at the camera. The same smile he wore in our photos. The same proud stance. The same man, living 2 complete lives. I downloaded everything, organizing it with the same attention to detail I used for museum collections. Each file was dated, labeled, backed up to a secure cloud account. The curator in me understood the importance of preservation, of creating an unassailable record. The woman in me wanted to delete it all, to pretend I'd never seen any of it, to go back to 3 days ago, when my biggest concern was whether we'd get our preferred venue for the wedding we hadn't quite planned yet. Instead, I kept digging. There would be more accounts, more passwords, more digital breadcrumbs. Michael was too thorough not to have left a complete trail, and I would follow it, wherever it led. My phone buzzed again. Another email from Michael, heading to dinner with the clients. Some good news to share when I'm back. Love you. Good news. I looked back at the school calendar on the screen. In 2 weeks, spring musical, The Wizard of Oz, starring Amy Chen as Dorothy. I wondered which good news he was really excited about. The marriage certificate filled my screen, its official seal a stark reminder of the permanence of legal documents. Michael James Chen and Lisa Nakamura Chen joined in marriage on the 15th day of May 2015, 3 years before he met me. I'd found it in the county records after hours of searching, my hands shaking as I entered my credit card information to download the official copy. Now I stared at Lisa's name, trying to reconcile it with the shadowy figure I'd imagined. Lisa Nakamura Chen, a real person, Michael's wife. The certificate listed her occupation, Professor of Environmental Science at Greenwich University. Within minutes, I found her faculty page. The photograph showed a striking woman in her early 40s, with long black hair and confident eyes. Her biography detailed an impressive career. PhD from Stanford, multiple published papers on sustainable agriculture, guest lecturer at international conferences. Research focuses on urban gardening initiatives and sustainable farming practices in metropolitan areas. Urban gardening, Michael's supposed hobby. Another piece clicked into place. It wasn't his passion at all. He'd borrowed his wife's expertise, transformed it into a personality trait designed to make him more appealing to me. I scrolled through her recent publications. Community gardens as social ecosystems had been presented at a conference in Chicago last month, during one of Michael's supposed business trips. How many of those trips had actually been to accompany his wife to academic events? A link led me to a local news article from 2 years ago. Greenwich professor leads revolutionary urban farming project. The photo showed Lisa in a community garden, surrounded by students. In the background, barely visible but unmistakable, was Michael, helping a young girl, Amy, plant something in a raised bed. My professional instincts took over again. I began a new document. Lisa Nakamura Chen, timeline. 1982, born in Kyoto, Japan. 2004, bachelor's degree, environmental science, University of California, Berkeley. 2009, PhD, Stanford University. 2010, hired at Greenwich University. 2015, married Michael Chen. 2016, birth of Amy Chen. 2017, promoted to associate professor. 2018, birth of James Chen. 2020, published first book on urban sustainability. 2023, awarded tenure. A whole life, meticulously documented. Academic achievements, career milestones, family events, all happening parallel to my relationship with Michael. While I was planning gallery openings, she was receiving tenure. While I was dreaming of our future children, she was raising his actual ones. Lisa's latest paper was titled, Cultivating Truth, Transparency in Agricultural Communities. The irony would have been amusing if it wasn't so painful. A new tab caught my eye. Recent press. I clicked through to find an announcement from last week. Professor Chen to lead $2 million research initiative. The article mentioned she would be speaking at an environmental conference in Vancouver next month. Vancouver, where Michael had suggested we take a surprise trip. Just a spontaneous getaway, he'd said. Now I understood. He was planning to attend his wife's keynote speech. I was about to close the browser when something made me scroll back to Lisa's faculty photo. There was something in her expression, a slight tension around the eyes, a barely perceptible strain in her smile. Did she know? Had she discovered Michael's deception as I had? My phone buzzed. A text from Caroline. Lunch tomorrow? Need to show you some amazing wedding venues. The word wedding sent a fresh wave of nausea through me. How many people had Michael fooled? Caroline had known him for years, had celebrated holidays with us, had been one of my closest confidants in planning our future together. I glanced back at the marriage certificate. In the eyes of the law, there was no future to plan. Michael was already married, had been married the entire time I'd known him. Every conversation about our wedding had been an elaborate fiction. A new email notification appeared from Michael's secret account to Lisa. Just confirmed my schedule for next month. I'll be there for your keynote. So proud of you. Always. Love. The same words, the same pride, the same signature. A perfect mirror of the messages he sent me. Even his love was a carefully crafted performance, delivered to multiple audiences with practiced precision. I looked at Lisa's photo again. Professor Lisa Nakamura Chen, environmental scientist, mother, wife. The woman who had legally claimed the role I thought was waiting for me. The woman whose life was about to change as dramatically as mine had. I reached for my phone, then stopped. What would I even say to her? Hello? I'm your husband's other significant other? The absurdity of it all hit me again, but this time I didn't feel like laughing. Instead, I saved the marriage certificate to my growing file of evidence and added a note to my timeline. April 2025. Discovery of truth begins. The bank statements told their own story, one written in deposits and withdrawals, transfers and payments. I'd found them in a folder labeled Tax Records 2024 on the external drive, buried under layers of mundane financial documents. Michael's primary checking account, the one he shared with me, showed his expected salary deposits and our joint expenses, but there were regular transfers to another account, labeled simply Investment Holdings. Every month, like clockwork, $8,500. I traced the transfers backward through years of statements. They never varied, never drew attention, just another responsible executive managing his portfolio. But these weren't investments, at least not the kind that showed up in quarterly reports. A second set of statements revealed the truth. Another, checking account, this one joint with Lisa Chen. The monthly transfers landed here, funding a parallel household. Mortgage payments for the Greenwich house, private school tuition for Amy and James. Family vacations carefully scheduled to never overlap with our own trips. The precision was breathtaking. 2 mortgages, 2 sets of utilities, 2 completely separate financial lives, all managed with the expertise of a man who'd spent his career handling complex business strategies. He'd even maintained separate credit cards, ensuring no accidental overlap in purchasing records. I opened my own banking app, looking at our joint account with new eyes. Every deposit, every bill payment, every dinner reservation, all part of an elaborate financial choreography designed to maintain 2 distinct households without raising suspicions. A recurring payment caught my eye. Morton and Reed Insurance. A premium, our health insurance through his company. Except when I clicked the transaction details, I noticed something odd. The payment was slightly higher than it should be for just the 2 of us. 20 minutes of digging through his company. Benefits portal, password still saved on his laptop, revealed why. He'd registered me as his domestic partner, not his fiancée. Lisa and the children were his official family members, covered under his primary insurance. I was a carefully documented asterisk, given just enough legitimacy to avoid questions. My finger traced down the list of transactions. Regular charges at a florist in Greenwich. Birthdays and anniversaries for Lisa. Similar charges at my favorite flower shop in Manhattan. Celebrations with me. Even his gestures of romance were budgeted and balanced. A notification popped up. On my phone. A charge on our joint credit card at La Maison d'Or, an upscale French restaurant near his office. Taking clients to dinner he'd texted earlier. But the amount was for 2 people, not a business group. I switched back to his secret email account, scanning recent messages. There it was, a dinner reservation confirmation, but not for clients. Celebrating 10 years since our first date, the note to Lisa read. The kids are with Mom and Dad, just us tonight. 10 years. A milestone celebration with his wife, charged to the credit card he shared with his fiancée. The audacity of it should have made me angry, but all I felt was a dull, throbbing emptiness. I returned to the statements, analyzing them with professional detachment. Michael's salary was substantial, high six figures plus bonuses, but maintaining two upper-middle-class households in the New York metropolitan area stretched even those resources. Every dollar was accounted for, every expense categorized and balanced. A third account appeared in the records, this one in the Cayman Islands. Bonuses and investment income flowed here, carefully divided and redistributed. He'd created a perfect financial firewall between his two lives, ensuring neither household could accidentally discover the other through money trails. I thought about my own salary from the gallery, the way I'd insisted on maintaining financial independence even after our engagement. Had that made it easier for him? One less person scrutinizing his accounts? One less chance of discovery? The newest statement showed a recent large transfer to the Cayman account, the Vancouver trip he'd proposed. He was funding it through his hidden reserves. A romantic getaway with me, perfectly timed to coincide with his wife's conference. 2 celebrations, 1 trip, 0 chance of accidental encounters. I closed the financial files and opened a new spreadsheet. Line by line, I began documenting every transaction, every transfer, every calculated division of resources. The curator's instinct for categorization served me well, each entry another piece of evidence in the museum of his deception. When I finished, I sat back and stared at the screen. The numbers were clear, unambiguous. Michael hadn't just built 2 lives. He'd created an entire financial infrastructure to sustain them. Every dollar, every transaction, every financial decision had been made in service of his elaborate deception. The level of planning was staggering. This wasn't opportunistic cheating or impulsive dishonesty. This was a carefully engineered system designed for the long haul. He'd never intended to choose between us. In his mind, he probably never had to. My own banking app chimed softly. Chato. Routine notification. Scheduled transfer complete. Our monthly contribution to what I'd thought was our wedding fund. I wondered which hidden account it was really feeding. The family portrait stopped me cold. It wasn't staged or formal, just a candid moment captured at what appeared to be a backyard birthday party. Michael knelt between 2 children, helping them blow out candles on an elaborately decorated cake. Lisa stood behind them, one hand resting on Michael's shoulder, laughing at something out of frame. The metadata tagged it as taken 3 months ago. James's 8th birthday. The same weekend, Michael had told me he was at a technology conference in Seattle. I zoomed in on the children's faces. Amy, 10 years old, had her father's green eyes and her mother's delicate features. She wore a big sister t-shirt and held a book under one arm. Clearly inherited her parents' intellectual bent. James had Lisa's dark hair, but Michael's smile, dimples and all. Birthday boy proud in a soccer jersey, cake frosting smeared across one cheek. They looked happy. Normal. Loved. My cursor hovered over Amy's face. I'd spent countless hours discussing potential children with Michael. Maybe in a year or 2, he'd always said. When the timing is right, all while tucking his actual daughter into bed every other night, reading her stories, helping with homework. A video file was attached to the same email thread. My finger trembled over the touchpad. Before clicking play, "Make a wish, buddy," Michael's voice, warm with paternal pride. James squeezed his eyes shut, his face scrunched in concentration before blowing out the candles. Everyone cheered. "What did you wish for?" Amy asked, bouncing with sisterly curiosity. "Can't tell or it won't come true," James replied solemnly. "But maybe it's about the puppy Dad promised to think about?" Michael laughed, ruffling his son's hair. "We'll discuss it after soccer season, champion. Speaking of which, show everyone your new cleats." The camera followed James as he ran to get his birthday presents. It panned across the yard, catching glimpses of other families, children playing, a life fully lived. Michael's parents were there too, his supposedly deceased mother helping Lisa set out more snacks, his father deep in conversation with other parents. The video cut to James opening presents. Each reaction, each excited thank you, drove home the reality of these children's lives. They weren't just names in a calendar or statistics in school records. They were real, breathing, growing human beings who called Michael Dad, who trusted him, loved him, built their world around his presence. I thought about the puppy discussion. Just last month, Michael and I had talked about getting a dog ourselves. Maybe when things settle down, he'd said. Always the same careful deflection, always keeping each life in its separate, controlled sphere. More photos followed. Amy's dance recital, James's soccer games. Michael attended everything, his presence carefully documented in proud parental snapshots. The same proud smile he wore in photos with me at gallery openings and charity events. A school art project appeared in the next image. Amy's family tree, carefully drawn and decorated. Michael and Lisa at the top, connected to their respective parents. All those nights I'd asked about his family and he'd spun stories about being an orphan, about growing up alone. Meanwhile, his parents were hosting monthly family dinners, celebrating birthdays, being proper grandparents to the children I hadn't known existed. The final photo in the set showed the whole family at what appeared to be a recent school event. Westbrook Elementary Science Fair. First prize. Amy stood between her parents, holding a blue ribbon for a project about sustainable gardening. Like mother, like daughter. James posed next to his sister, giving a thumbs up to the camera. They looked like what they were, a normal, happy, upper-middle-class family. Mother, father, 2 kids, grandparents, house in the suburbs. The American dream, perfectly realized, except it was all built on a foundation of lies. These children, innocent and unaware, were living in a reality that could shatter at any moment. When the truth came out, and it would come out, their whole world would change. Their understanding of family, of trust, of their own father, would never be the same. I closed the photo folder and added it to my growing evidence file. Then I opened a new document and began typing. Dear Lisa, the children deserved better than to have their lives blown apart by an angry email. We would need to handle this carefully, deliberately, with their well-being in mind. I deleted the draft without saving. Not yet. I needed to be sure I had everything first. These kids had been living a lie long enough. They deserved to hear the whole truth, not just pieces of it. The holiday cards were identical in style, elegant, letterpress designs from the same high-end stationer. I spread them across my desk chronologically. 8 years of greetings sent to different recipients, each one a perfect reflection of the other. To his Greenwich family. Wishing you peace and joy this holiday season. Love, Michael, Lisa, Amy, and James. To our Manhattan circle. Warmest wishes for the holidays. Love, Michael and Emma. The sentiments varied slightly, but the pattern was clear. Each card chosen to match the recipient's taste. Traditional scenes for Lisa's academic colleagues. Modern designs for my art world friends. Even his handwriting shifted subtly between them. More formal for Lisa's cards, looser and more casual. For mine, I lined up photos from parallel celebrations. Last New Year's Eve, Michael in a tuxedo at the gallery's benefit gala. Champagne flute raised beside me in my vintage Dior. Earlier that same evening, Michael at his parents' house in Stamford, wearing a different suit, toasting with Lisa and the children before heading to an unavoidable work event. Valentine's Day followed the same pattern. Lunch with Lisa at their favorite Greenwich bistro, dinner with me at our special spot in the West Village. Different restaurants, different gifts, same carefully curated romantic gestures. A stack of birthday cards revealed his template for personal messages. To Lisa. To my brilliant wife, who makes every day an adventure. Thank you for our beautiful family and 10 amazing years. All my love, M. To me. To my amazing Emma, who fills every day with beauty. Looking forward to our future together. All my love, M. The similarity made me nauseous. Even his intimate expressions of love were standardized, efficient, designed for maximum impact with minimal risk of confusion. His travel schedule told the same story. business trips neatly divided between actual work obligations and family time. Chicago meetings that were really school plays. London conferences that coordinated with Lisa's academic lectures. Every hour accounted for, every absence explained. I found dual Christmas morning photos from last year. Michael in Greenwich, still in pajamas, helping James unwrap a new gaming console. 3 hours later, Michael in Manhattan, freshly showered, and changed, exchanging gifts with me over brunch. He'd blamed his late arrival on a red-eye flight from a non-existent business trip. The parallel celebrations extended beyond holidays. When I earned a major gallery promotion, he took me to Daniel for dinner. The same week, he celebrated Lisa's published research with dinner at Thomas Henkelman. Equal recognition for both women's achievements, carefully balanced to maintain the illusion of primacy in each relationship. A folder labeled Special Moments held more evidence. Programs from Amy's school concerts, saved alongside catalogs from my exhibitions. James's Little League photos next to snapshots from my charity events. Everything preserved, categorized, maintained with equal attention to detail. I found dual Mother's Day cards, one to Lisa, celebrating her role as mother to their children, another to his deceased mother, thanking her for being the best grandma Amy and James could ask for. The ability to maintain such elaborate lies while sitting at family dinners, to pretend his parents were dead while celebrating holidays with them. It suggested a capacity for deception that seemed almost pathological. His digital calendar revealed the intricate choreography required to maintain these parallel lives. Color-coded entries tracked every commitment, every anniversary, every important date. Reminders were set weeks in advance to purchase gifts, book restaurants, arrange celebrations. Nothing was left to chance, nothing allowed to overlap. Even his music playlists were compartmentalized. Greenwich Evening Mix featured classical pieces Lisa enjoyed. Manhattan Night contained the jazz selections he played during our dinner parties. 2 distinct soundtracks for 2 distinct lives. The final piece of evidence was the most revealing. Twin engagement rings, purchased 8 months apart. The first, a family heirloom reset for Lisa years ago. The second, my ring, carefully chosen to match my aesthetic preferences but different enough to avoid any chance of recognition. He'd planned to maintain this division indefinitely, I realized. Each life perfectly crafted, each relationship given just enough attention to flourish without demanding more than he could manage. It wasn't just an affair or a double life. It was a sustainable system, designed to last for years. A new holiday card draft appeared in his secret email. Looking into Christmas card designs early this year, the kids want something with snow. The casual domesticity of it, the easy assumption of continuity, made the depth of his deception even more stark. I gathered the cards into 2 neat piles: Greenwich and Manhattan, Lisa and Emma, wife and fiancé. Each stack represented years of calculated duplicity, each greeting a carefully manufactured moment in a life built on lies. The curator in me had to admire the attention to detail, the precise archiving of each parallel moment. The woman in me wondered how many tears would be shed over these cards when the truth finally came to light. My journal lay open on the desk, each page filled with meticulous notes in my curator's precise handwriting. After a week of gathering evidence, I'd begun planning the confrontation with the same attention to detail that Michael had used to construct his deception. Confrontation Strategy and Considerations. Read the heading of today's entry. Below, it a growing list of points to address. Legal implications, marriage fraud, joint accounts and assets, lease agreement status, engagement ring ownership, potential civil claims. I'd spent the morning with Diana Chen, no relation to Michael, a family law attorney recommended by a gallery client. Her office had been a sanctuary of mahogany and pragmatism. Her advice clear and unsparing. Legally, you're the third party here, she'd explained, glasses perched on her nose as she reviewed my documentation. Lisa is his legal wife. Any financial claims would need to be pursued through civil court. My notes from the meeting filled 3 pages. Diana had outlined various scenarios, from quiet separation to public legal battle. The evidence you've gathered is thorough, she'd noted. But remember, exposure could have consequences beyond the immediate parties involved. She was right. The ripple effects would touch everyone. Lisa's academic career, the children's social lives, Michael's professional reputation. Even my position at the gallery could be affected. The New York art world loved scandal, but not when it hit too. Close to home, I'd drafted multiple versions of the confrontation script, each attempt feeling more inadequate than the last. Version 1, too emotional. How could you maintain this deception for so long? Did any of it mean anything? Version 2, too clinical. I have documentation of your parallel lives and families. We need to discuss next steps. Version 3, too vindictive. I've contacted Lisa. She knows everything. We've compared notes. None of them captured the complexity of what needed to be said. How do you encapsulate 8 years of lies in a single conversation? How do you ask someone to explain a deception so complete it amounts to a separate identity? The timing had to be perfect. Michael was scheduled to be in Vancouver in 3 weeks for Lisa's conference. The trip he'd invited me to join. The hotel. Reservations showed adjoining rooms. One under his corporate account for Lisa, another under his personal card for me. His plan had been to shuttle between them, maintaining his performance until the last possible moment. Instead, I'd begun arranging my own choreography. Thursday, Lisa's keynote speech, 10 a.m. Michael's planned breakfast with me, 8 a.m. Confrontation. In neutral location, 2 p.m. Legal representatives on standby. I'd booked my own room at a different hotel. Reserved a private meeting room at a discreet business center. Arranged for a forensic accountant to review all the financial documentation. Every detail planned, every contingency considered. A new section in my journal addressed immediate practical concerns, post-confrontation, checklist, change apartment locks, freeze joint accounts, secure personal documents, contact gallery board, inform close friends, family. Begin therapy consultations. The last item had been Diana's suggestion. This type of betrayal has long-lasting effects, she'd said. Professional support is crucial. She'd provided a list of therapists specializing in relationship trauma and deception. I'd also started documenting potential questions, things I needed to understand. When did the deception become systematic? Was any part of our relationship genuine? How did he rationalize this to himself? Were there others besides Lisa and me? What was his endgame? But the hardest questions centered on the children. How will Amy and James handle this? What support will they need? How can the truth be revealed with minimal trauma? Should I be present when they're told? My role in their lives, or lack thereof, weighed heavily. I'd spent years imagining my future children with Michael, never knowing I was fantasizing about replacing his existing family. The thought made me physically ill. The final page of my journal held a different kind of list. Not plans or questions, but truths I needed to remember. This is not my fault. I am not responsible for his choices. I deserve honesty and respect. The truth matters more than appearances. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to grieve. I will survive this. I closed the journal and checked my phone. A text from Michael. Can't wait for Vancouver. It's going to be perfect. For once I thought he might be right, just not in the way he imagined. After years of masterful deception, the curtain was about to fall. His performance would end not with applause, but with consequences. I added one final note to my journal. The truth isn't always beautiful, but the need for it is. Lisa's social media presence was exactly what you'd expect from a tenured professor. Professional updates, academic achievements, occasional glimpses of family life. Her latest post announced her upcoming keynote in Vancouver, accompanied by a photo of her in her university office. But it was her expression that caught my attention. The same strain I'd noticed in her faculty photo, now more pronounced. The message appeared in my inbox at 2:47 a.m. We need to talk about Michael. I stared at the sender's address, lisa.chennagreenwich.edu. My hands trembled as I clicked open the email. I know who you are, Emma. I've known for some time. I found your gallery exhibitions in his expense reports last year. The dinner receipts, the weekend trips. At first, I thought you were just another colleague. Then I saw the ring on your finger in a photo from the Whitney opening. The same ring he'd shown me months earlier, claiming it was for his assistant's engagement gift. I've been gathering evidence. I suspect you have been too. We should compare notes. Wow. The directness of it, the calm precision of her words, made my heart race. I read it 3 times before clicking reply. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. The Davies Gallery. I'll be in my office. Her response came immediately. I'll be there. I spent the night reviewing my files, preparing. Not to defend myself. There was nothing to defend, but to share, to understand. The curator in me needed everything organized, categorized, clear. At 8 a.m., my assistant buzzed. Dr. Chen is here to see you. Lisa was shorter than she appeared in photos, but her presence filled the room. She wore a tailored navy suit and carried a leather portfolio that could have been the twin of the one on my desk. Her eyes met mine with unflinching directness. Children are at school, she said by way of greeting. We have until 3 p.m. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. Would you like some coffee? I think we're beyond social niceties, don't you? She opened her portfolio and removed a stack of documents. Credit card statements, phone records, hotel receipts. I recognized them. They mirrored my own collection exactly. When did you first suspect? She asked. 8 days ago. Found his other calendar. Ah, she nodded. The planner. He's always been meticulous about his records. It's what made him such a successful liar. The bitterness in her voice was familiar. I'd heard it in my own lately. The Vancouver conference, I said. He's planned it perfectly. You in one room, me in another. Of course he has. Lisa's laugh was soft, almost admiring. He's never been one to waste an opportunity. 2 birds, 1 stone. Always efficient. Our Michael. When did you know? About me? She pulled out a photo. Me and Michael at a charity gala last year. This was in his deleted email folder. He's careful, but not careful enough. Not anymore. She paused. You look happy here. We probably have dozens of similar photos, same smile, same proud stance beside him. I found your family portrait, I admitted. From James's birthday. Something flickered in her eyes. The children don't know. Can't know. Not yet. I agree. They need to be protected, but it needs to end. Yes. We spent the next 3 hours comparing timelines, cross-referencing dates, filling in each other's gaps. Her academic thoroughness complemented my curatorial precision. Together, we constructed a complete picture of Michael's deception. He's getting sloppy, Lisa noted, showing me recent receipts. 3 dinner dates in 1 week, different restaurants, but same part of town. He used to be more cautious. The Vancouver trip, I said. It's risky, having us both there. He's always enjoyed the thrill of it, the challenge of maintaining control. She straightened a stack of papers. But we're not playing by his rules anymore. I looked at her. This accomplished woman who had shared my fiancé for 8 years without knowing it, who had built a life, raised children, pursued a career, all while being part of someone else's elaborate performance. What do you need? I asked. From the confrontation? Truth, she said simply. Consequences. A clean end. She met my eyes. You? The same. And something else. Understanding. Not for his sake, but for mine. I need to know how he did this, how he became this. Lisa nodded. The psychology professor in my department has a theory about men like Michael. She calls it compartmentalization as identity, the ability to fully inhabit multiple roles without cognitive dissonance. You've discussed this with her. Hypothetically, academic distance helps sometimes. She closed her portfolio. The Vancouver conference is in 3 weeks. That's our moment. I've already started planning. Would you like to see my notes? She smiled for the first time. A genuine conspiratorial expression. Show me everything. As we bent over my desk, comparing strategies and synchronizing plans, I realized something. In trying to maintain his perfect division between 2 lives, Michael had inadvertently created a bridge. Lisa and I, the wife and the fiancé, had found common ground in the ruins of his deception. The truth would come at a cost, but at least we'd face it together. The security camera footage played on my laptop screen, oddly sterile in its black and white clarity. Michael's precise movements through his daily transitions took on a new significance now that I understood their true purpose. 7 a.m. Leaving the Greenwich house, kissing Lisa goodbye. 15 a.m. Stopping at a storage unit, his changing station. We'd discovered. 30 a.m. Arriving at the office in a different suit, wearing his Manhattan persona. Lisa had gotten access to the footage through a former student who now worked for the security company. 3 months of recordings showed the same patterns, the same careful choreography. Even his body language shifted between locations. More relaxed in Greenwich, more polished in Manhattan. "Watch this," Lisa said, pointing to footage from last week. Michael at his storage unit, changing clothes, but something was different. His movements were hurried, almost frantic. He checked his phone 17 times in 12 minutes. "He's getting nervous," I said. "Making mistakes." The evidence was mounting. Yesterday, he'd accidentally used Lisa's credit card for a dinner. With me. Last week, he'd called me by her name during a momentary lapse. Small cracks in his perfect performance. My phone buzzed. Another text from him. "Everything okay? You seem distant lately." Lisa showed me her phone. The same message, word for word, sent 5 minutes earlier. "He's sensing something's wrong," she said. "But he doesn't know what." We'd been carefully coordinating our responses, maintaining a subtle distance that would unsettle him without raising direct suspicion. A delayed reply here, a canceled plan there. Death by 1,000 paper cuts to his confidence. The footage continued. Michael entering his office, but now I noticed new details. The slight loosening of his tie, the frequent glances over his shoulder. His administrative assistant had noted increased agitation, more closed-door meetings with no one on the calendar. "Look at his expense reports," Lisa said, pulling out a fresh stack of documents. "He's getting careless with the paperwork." Mixed. Up our anniversary dinner receipts last month. His assistant flagged it for accounting. The reports told their own story. Overlapping dinner reservations, conflicting travel dates, inconsistent explanations for his whereabouts. The perfect system was showing stress fractures. I opened my laptop to show her my latest discovery. Emails between Michael and his real estate agent. He'd been looking at properties in Toronto, making inquiries about international banking regulations, planning an escape route. "He knows something's coming," I said. "He just doesn't know from where." Lisa nodded, her academic mind clearly cataloging each piece of evidence. "The children's passports are missing from our safe. I checked yesterday. That detail sent a chill through me." "You think he'd take them?" "No," she said firmly. "He's too smart for that. It's insurance, leverage. He's preparing for every scenario. We had our own insurance." I pulled out a USB drive containing everything we'd collected. Financial records, travel documents, photos, emails, video footage. 2 copies already stored in secure locations. Another with Diana the lawyer. The footage on my screen showed Michael leaving the office late last night. He stood in the parking garage for several minutes, just staring at his phone. When he finally moved, he started toward the wrong car, the one he used in Greenwich, before catching himself and turning around. "The facades are crumbling," Lisa observed. "He's having trouble keeping his stories straight." More evidence of his unraveling appeared daily. This morning, he'd signed documents with the wrong date. Not just off by a day, but by 3 years, as if his timelines were bleeding together. His assistant reported him staring at his calendar for long periods, muttering to himself. My gallery assistant buzzed, "Mr. Chen is here to see you." Lisa and I looked at each other in alarm. This was unscheduled, unprecedented. Michael never visited the gallery without calling first. "The back exit," I said quickly. "Through the restoration room." Lisa gathered her documents with practiced efficiency. As she slipped out, Michael's voice carried from the reception area. "Is she in a meeting?" "I can wait." I quickly pulled up a catalog listing on my computer and took a deep breath. When he entered, I met his gaze with practiced normalcy. Michael? This is a surprise. His smile was perfect as always, but his left hand tapped an irregular rhythm against his leg, a tell we'd both learned to recognize. Just wanted to check on you. You've seemed preoccupied lately. Work stress, I said smoothly. This new exhibition is demanding. He nodded, eyes scanning my desk with calculated casualness. Anything you want to talk about? The irony of his question almost made me laugh. In 10 days, we'd be in Vancouver. In 10 days, everything would shatter. Nothing important, I replied. Just details to manage. His smile remained fixed, but his fingers kept tapping. He knew something was wrong. He just hadn't realized that the call was coming from inside the house. Both houses. Well, he said finally, don't work too hard. Remember, Vancouver soon. A chance to relax? I smiled back. Mirror perfect. I can't wait. For once, I was telling him the absolute truth. 3 days before Vancouver, the text messages started coming more frequently. Each one a digital snapshot of Michael's fragmenting. Control Septa 7, item. Confirm dinner reservations for Thursday. That new place you mentioned. 7:17 a.m. Sorry, wrong person. Ignore that. He'd never made that kind of mistake before. The text had been meant for Lisa. I'd seen their matching dinner plans in his calendar. Now he was scrambling, sending follow-up messages to both of us. To me, was thinking of that Italian place you love for Thursday. To Lisa, forwarded by her. Looking forward to trying the new bistro you chose. Each message carefully worded to avoid specifics, to maintain the illusion of unique plans. But the seams were showing. I sat at my desk, watching his increasingly frantic attempts to maintain control. Lisa and I had synchronized our responses. Delayed replies, subtle questioning, tiny drops of doubt that were clearly driving him to distraction. Something's different about you lately, he wrote to both of us, 8 minutes apart. Lisa called me after receiving her message. He stopped by the university today, unannounced. Just stood in my office doorway watching me grade papers. Power. Move? I asked. Fear, she replied. He's losing his grip on the narrative. She was right. His perfect performance was showing cracks. Yesterday, he'd left his Greenwich phone on his desk at work. His assistant had found it, noticed the different wallpaper, Lisa and the kids at the beach, and mentioned it casually. He'd snatched it away, mumbling something about holding it for a friend. The pressure was building from all sides. His parents, unaware of the coming storm, had been pressing him about the Vancouver trip. Mom keeps asking why I can't attend Lisa's keynote. He'd complained to me over dinner. Then, realizing his slip, my colleague Lisa, from the Chicago office. I'd watched him try to recover, to patch the hole in his story. But the damage was done. He'd spent the rest of dinner checking. His phone's under the table, probably texting Lisa damage control messages. The calendar alerts were overlapping now. His careful scheduling was falling apart. Thursday 2 p.m. Conference call. Manhattan calendar. Thursday 2 p.m. Amy's science fair. Greenwich calendar. Thursday 2 p.m. Venue tour. Wedding planning folder. He'd triple booked himself, a rookie mistake for someone who'd maintained separate lives for so long. When I'd casually mentioned wanting to discuss wedding venues, he'd practically jumped out of his skin. Let's talk after Vancouver, he'd said quickly. Always deflecting, always pushing difficult conversations to a future that was rapidly collapsing. Lisa reported similar anxiety tells. His normally immaculate garden in Greenwich was showing signs of neglect. He'd missed James's soccer game for the first time in years, claiming a work emergency that didn't exist in either calendar. The final thread snapped last night. A simple text exchange that showed just how close he was to breaking. Me. Looking. Forward to Vancouver. Him. It's going to be perfect. Me. The whole weekend? Him. Every minute. Me. Even the keynote speech? 3 dots appeared as he typed, disappeared, reappeared. Finally, what keynote? I could picture him in his office, realizing his mistake, frantically checking calendars and stories. Which version had he told me? Which lie was he supposed to maintain? Sorry, I wrote. Must be thinking of a different event. No response for an hour. Then, just before midnight, can't wait to have you all to myself. The irony of his words wasn't lost on me. Lisa forwarded his message to her from 10 minutes later. So proud to share this moment with you. This morning, his assistant reported. Him spending 2 hours staring at his travel documents, rearranging them over and over on his desk. The Vancouver hotel had called to confirm his reservations. Multiple rooms under different names. He'd hung up on them twice. Now he was texting. Again. Need to push dinner back tomorrow. Work thing. Actually, cancel. Rain check? No, sorry, I can make it work. 7 p.m.? Unless you're busy? Each message more uncertain than the last. The masterful manipulator reduced to second-guessing every interaction. Lisa's response popped up. On my screen. He just called to check in for the 3rd time today. Keeps asking if everything's okay. I looked at my own phone, at his latest message. We should talk. Before Vancouver. Yes, I replied. We should. But not yet. Not until... Everything was in place. 2 more days until Vancouver. 2 more days of watching him unravel. His response came quickly. Love you. I set the phone down without replying. In Greenwich, Lisa was doing the same. For the first time in 8 years, Michael's messages were falling into silence. The breaking point was coming. We could all feel it. The conference room at the Vancouver Fairmont was both elegant and sterile, its neutral tones and soft lighting designed to soothe corporate tensions. Today it would witness a different kind of business meeting. I sat beside Lisa at the mahogany table, our laptops open, documents arranged with curatorial precision. Diana Chen, the lawyer, sat at the end with her own files. The video camera in. The corner blinked steadily, recording at Lisa's insistence. For the children, she'd said. They'll have questions someday. Michael's Vancouver schedule lay between us, printed in his precise handwriting. 8 a.m. Breakfast with Emma, 10 a.m. Lisa's keynote speech, 30 p.m. Lunch with Lisa, 2 p.m. Work calls, 5 p.m. Dinner with Emma. He'd planned every minute, as always. But at 1:55 p.m., his assistant had delivered a message. Urgent meeting requested by board member Chen. Conference room 3. Now we waited. Lisa's hands steady on the table, mine clenched beneath it. The door opened exactly at 2 p.m. Michael's. Perpetual punctuality intact even as his world teetered on the edge. He stepped in, confident smile freezing as he registered our presence. His eyes darted between us, recognition and denial warring on his face. What is this? Professional calm. But his left hand tapped against his leg. Sit down, Michael. Lisa's voice carried the weight of 10 years' marriage and a lifetime of academic authority. He remained standing, gaze calculating. There must be some mistake. No mistakes, I said, opening my laptop. Not anymore. Diana spoke for the first time. Mr. Chen, please be seated. This will be easier if you cooperate. His smile turned brittle. I don't know what you think is happening here. Stop. Lisa pressed play on her laptop. Security footage filled the screen. Michael cycling. Through his daily transformations at the storage unit, his Greenwich departures, Manhattan arrivals, the careful dance of his double life played in silent, damning sequence. Turn it off. His voice cracked. 8 years, Michael. I pulled out the leather planner that had started everything. 8 years of lies. 10 years, Lisa corrected, spreading out their marriage certificate. Our anniversary was last month. You brought roses. Emma, what did he bring you for your anniversary dinner the next night? Lilies, my favorite. Michael sank into a chair, the performance finally cracking. I can explain. Really? Lisa's academic skepticism cut through his words. Can you explain the separate phones? The hidden accounts? The lies about your parents, who, by the way, are watching our children right now, thinking you're at a business meeting. The children, he started, are safe, I interrupted, and will stay that way. This isn't about them. It's about you. About this. I opened the evidence files, credit card statements, travel records, hotel receipts. 8 years of documentation spread across the table like artifacts in a museum of deception. How long have you— He gestured between us. 2 weeks, Lisa said. Turns out your fiancé is as thorough in her investigation as I am. We compared notes. His head snapped up. Fiancé? Emma, you don't understand. I understand everything. My voice was steady now. Every lie, every manipulation, every calculated decision. The question is, do you? Diana cleared her throat. Mr. Chen, you should be aware that this meeting is being recorded. Any statements you make, turn it off. Real panic now. We can discuss this privately. As a family— Which family, Michael? Lisa's question hung in the air. Your Greenwich family? Your Manhattan family? The one you were building with Emma? Or do you have others we haven't discovered yet? He stood abruptly, mask cracking completely. This is ridiculous. I don't have to— Sit down. Lisa's command froze him mid-turn. You've controlled this narrative for 10 years. Now you're going to listen. I pulled out the final piece of evidence. His Toronto real estate inquiries, international banking arrangements. Planning a disappearing act? His face went blank. The same expression I'd seen him use in tough business negotiations. Everything. I did for— Don't. My voice shook with fury. Don't you dare say you did this for us. You did it for yourself. Because you could. Because it made you feel powerful. The logistics alone, Lisa mused, academic detachment creeping into her voice. The planning? The organization required to maintain this level of deception. Did you enjoy it? The challenge of keeping all the pieces in motion? Something shifted in his expression. Pride warring with caution. You don't understand the pressure? To what? To maintain 2 families? To lie to everyone in your life? To construct elaborate fairy tales about dead parents while they babysit your children? I leaned forward. Help us understand, Michael. Explain how a man becomes this. He looked between us, tactical mind visibly racing, searching for an angle, a narrative thread to pull that might unravel this confrontation. Emma. He focused on me, voice softening to the tender tone I'd heard so many times. What we have is real. Everything I felt was a performance. Lisa's cold certainty. The same performance you gave me. Probably the same one you gave others before us. There were no others. Quick defense. Too quick. Diana's pen scratched against paper. Michael's eyes darted to her notes. Here's what happens now, Lisa said, pulling out a thick envelope. Divorce. Papers. Non-negotiable terms. Your parents will have supervised visitation with the children while we evaluate next steps. You can't. We can. We will. She squared the papers with precise movements. You have 10 minutes to sign, or the police get copies of everything. Wire fraud, financial manipulation, evidence of international accounts. I'm sure they'd be very interested. His mask shattered completely, showing something I'd never seen before. Raw panic mixed with something like relief, the weight of maintaining his performance finally lifting. The children, he whispered. We'll know a version of the truth when they're older, Lisa said. For now, they'll know their father is going away for a while. To think about his choices. I stood, gathering my evidence. We'll leave you with Diana to review the papers. Your assistant has booked you on a flight home. Your other appointments in Vancouver have been canceled. His head snapped up. You got to Sarah? She's known something was wrong for weeks. Apparently, you've been talking to yourself, rehearsing conversations with people who weren't there. Lisa and I moved toward the door, leaving him with Diana, and the documents that would dismantle his carefully constructed world. Emma, wait. Desperation in his voice. I turned back one last time. I found the ring, Michael. The one you bought for your assistant's engagement. Were you planning to propose again? Add a third life to your collection? He said nothing, which was perhaps the only honest thing he'd done in years. Goodbye, Michael. Enjoy Vancouver. I hear the view from your room is spectacular. I paused. The one under your real name, that is. We canceled the other reservations. The door closed on his silence, leaving him alone with the evidence of his own destruction. The legal documents lay scattered across my kitchen table like fallen leaves, each one representing another piece of my former life being dismantled. Change of lease agreement, bank account closure forms, restraining order application, a paper trail of endings. The gallery board is meeting tomorrow, Caroline said, sorting through her own stack of papers. My oldest friend had shifted seamlessly, from wedding planning to crisis management. They're prepared to issue a statement supporting you if this goes public. If. The word hung in the air. Michael had signed Lisa's divorce papers, but his next moves were uncertain. Diana warned us to prepare for every scenario. My phone buzzed with a text from Lisa. He's trying to access the Greenwich house. Security system alerted me. Then, moments later, parents confronted him. It got ugly. I could picture it, the final shattering of his perfect facade as his mother demanded explanations, his father expressing disappointment in their only son, the weight of a decade of lies finally crushing the performance. His office called, Caroline reported, checking her messages. He hasn't shown up for work. His assistant found his resignation letter, backdated to last week. Classic Michael, trying to control the narrative even in retreat. But he'd underestimated the speed of modern communications. His company's HR department had already frozen his accounts and begun an audit. My laptop pinged with a new email from Michael's Greenwich account to both Lisa and me. I never meant to hurt anyone. Everything I felt was real. Please don't destroy what we built. We can fix this. Lisa's response came swiftly. Which we, Michael? Which reality are you trying to fix? I closed the laptop without replying. Let him sit with the silence he'd created. The fallout spread in widening circles. Thomas, Michael's business partner, had called earlier, his voice thick with shock and anger. 8 years. He was in my home, held my children. How did none of us see it? That was the question everyone kept asking. How had he maintained the deception for so long? How had all of us, intelligent, successful professionals, been so thoroughly fooled? Because he gave each of us exactly what we wanted to see, Lisa had explained during our last meeting. The perfect husband, the attentive father, the brilliant businessman, the devoted fiancé. He studied his audience and played to expectations. The evidence of his performance was everywhere in my apartment. Photos of us at charity events, weekend getaways, intimate dinners. Each one now tainted by the knowledge that he'd probably recreated similar moments with Lisa hours later. My phone lit up with another message. This one from Michael's mother. I'm so sorry, Emma. We never knew. Please believe that. I believed her. In a way, Michael's parents were victims too. They'd been forced to compartmentalize their own lives, maintaining his fiction of death in Manhattan while actively participating in his Greenwich existence. The doorman called up. Ms. Sterling, Mr. Chen's things have been moved to storage as requested. His keys have been deactivated. Another piece of the dismantling. Tomorrow, a locksmith would change the actual locks. But for now, electronic barriers would have to suffice. Caroline sorted through more papers. The wedding vendors have been notified. Most are offering refunds given the circumstances. Donate them, I said. To that domestic violence shelter on 82nd Street. She nodded, making notes. The gallery's insurance company wants a statement about the ring. The ring. I looked at my bare finger, the pale band of skin where it had rested for 4 years. The ring itself was in a safe deposit box with the rest of the evidence. Tell them it's being held as potential evidence of fraud. My professional email dinged. Inquiries from Art World colleagues. Carefully worded messages expressing concern and support. News traveled fast in Manhattan circles. I'd have to craft a response soon, something that preserved my dignity while acknowledging the reality. Lisa's approach had been simpler. Her university had issued a brief statement. Professor Chen is dealing with a private family matter and requests privacy at this time. Academic circles respected such boundaries, at least publicly. Another text from Lisa. The children are asking questions. He's called them 3 times today. My heart ached for Amy and James. Their world was shifting too. but they didn't yet understand why. How do you explain to children that their father had built his life on elaborately constructed lies? The sun was setting over Manhattan, casting long shadows across my evidence files. In the fading light, I could see the ghost of my former life, the woman who had trusted, who had believed in the future Michael painted so convincingly. Caroline touched my arm gently. "You should eat something. It's been hours." "I can't. Not yet." I stared at the paper spread before me. "I need to finish this first." "This isn't your dissertation defense," she said softly. "You don't have to document everything perfectly." But I did. The curator in me needed every detail cataloged, every moment of deception recorded and archived. Only then could I begin to understand how I'd been cast in Michael's performance, and how I could finally write my own story. The photos of Michael's childhood spread across Dr. Warner's office like pieces of a psychological puzzle. Lisa had found them in a box at his parents' house tucked away in their attic. Now they sat between me and my therapist, each image a potential key to understanding. Michael at 5, wearing a perfect little suit at his father's corporate event. At 7, holding up academic awards with a practiced smile. At 12, giving a speech at his school graduation. Always performing. Always perfect. "His mother says he was obsessed with spy movies as a child," I said, picking up a photo of teenage Michael in a school play. "He loved the idea of secret identities, hidden lives." Dr. Warner made a note. "The fantasy of being multiple people often appeals to children who feel pressured to maintain a perfect facade." That's what Lisa's colleague suggested, the psychology professor. I pulled out my notes from that conversation. She called it compartmentalization as identity, the ability to fully inhabit different roles without cognitive dissonance. Did you ever sense that disconnect in him? Moments where the performance slipped? I thought about it. Curator's instinct for detail taking over. He was most genuine in transition moments. Early mornings, late nights, times when he wasn't actively playing either role. More photos. Michael's college years, business school, early career. Always achieving, always excelling, always living up to impossible expectations. His father was a prominent businessman, I continued. 3 times divorced, each new wife younger, more accomplished. Michael grew up watching him juggle relationships, maintain appearances, learning by example. But he thought he could do it better. More organized, more controlled. No messy divorces or public scandals. Just perfect parallel lives, perfectly maintained. A new image caught my eye. Michael at his parents' anniversary party, age 15. In the background, his father danced with his 3rd wife while his mother sat alone at a table, watching. "He told me his parents were dead," I said quietly. "Built this whole story about being an orphan, about understanding loss. Meanwhile, they were having weekly dinners with his real family in Greenwich. The most convincing lies often contain elements of emotional truth," Dr. Warner observed. "What was he really telling you about loss?" The question hit home. I stared at the photo of young Michael, seeing past his perfect smile to something harder in his eyes. He lost faith in authentic relationships, I realized. Watching his father's marriages, his mother's pain, he decided real connection was too risky. Better to control every aspect, manage every interaction, creating multiple perfect performances instead of one authentic life. Yes, I picked up another photo, Michael at his wedding to Lisa. The same smile he'd worn in every photo with me. He didn't even change his expressions, used the same gestures, same phrases, like he'd found a formula that worked and stuck to it. It's common for people living double lives to standardize their behaviors, Dr. Warner said. It reduces the risk of mistakes, makes the performance more sustainable. But it wasn't sustainable. He started making mistakes, missing details. That's how we caught him. What changed? I spread out the most recent photos. Michael at James's birthday, at my gallery opening, at Lisa's tenure celebration. Side by side, the strain was visible. Tiny cracks in the perfect facade. The children, I said. They were the variable he couldn't fully control. They needed spontaneity, genuine emotion. You can't schedule authentic moments with kids. Dr. Warner nodded. And authentic moments threaten a performance-based identity. Lisa said he'd been different with them lately. More distant, more scripted. Like he couldn't maintain genuine connection and perfect control at the same time. I gathered the photos, tucking them back into their envelope. 8 sessions with Dr. Warner had helped me see the patterns, understand the psychology. But understanding didn't ease the pain. It just gave it context. I keep thinking about something his mother said, I admitted. After everything came out, she told me, Michael always had to be the best at everything. Even his lies had to be exceptional. How does understanding his psychology affect your own healing process? I thought about the evidence files still spread across my apartment, the timelines and documentation I'd obsessively maintained. It helps me see that it wasn't about me, or Lisa, or even the children. It was about his need to maintain these perfect performances, these controlled narratives. We were just characters he cast in his production. And now? Now I'm writing my own story. I stood, gathering my notes. One where I don't need to be perfect, just real. The childhood photos stayed in their envelope, ready to be returned to Lisa. She'd want them for the children someday, when they were old enough to understand their father's complexity. Understanding. Michael's psychology wouldn't change what he'd done, but it helped me recognize the warning signs, the subtle tells of someone living a performance instead of a life. More importantly, it helped me recognize my own tendency to seek perfection, to curate every aspect of my existence. Sometimes authenticity meant allowing for imperfection, even if that was the hardest performance of all to give up. The new apartment. Lease felt weighty in my hands, its crisp pages promising something I desperately needed. A fresh start. The place was smaller than my old one, a 4th-floor walk-up in the West Village with uneven floors and a temperamental radiator. Nothing, like the pristine brownstone I'd shared with Michael. I loved it immediately. Caroline helped me carry up the last of my boxes, both of us pretending not to notice that my entire life now fit in a studio apartment. I'd left most things behind, too many memories, too much careful curation of the perfect lifestyle. You know you could have stayed with me, she said, arranging a vase of fresh flowers on my new windowsill. Not lilies. Never lilies again. I needed my own space. I ran my hand along the worn wooden counter. Something that was never part of his performance. My phone buzzed. A text from Lisa. The divorce papers are filed. His lawyer tried to negotiate terms. Let me guess. I typed back. He wants to maintain appearances? Wants to keep everything private. Offered more money in exchange for silence. Classic. Michael, trying to control the narrative until the end. But Lisa and I had already decided. No NDAs, no secret arrangements. The truth would exist in the open, even if we controlled how and when to share it. I'd started with my gallery staff, gathering them for an honest conversation. I'm not going to hide what happened, I'd told them, but I'm also not going to let it define our work. They'd responded with unexpected support, one junior curator admitting that my openness helped her deal with her own relationship deception. The gallery itself had become my sanctuary. I threw myself into preparing the new exhibition, Authenticity and Artifice in Contemporary Portraiture. If some of the pieces explored themes of identity and performance, well, art had always been therapy for me. My phone lit up again, an email from Michael's mother. She'd been reaching out regularly, trying to maintain some connection. Today's message was different. Amy asked about you today. She found an old gallery invitation with your photo. When you're ready, I'd like to talk about how to handle these moments. I sat on my new bed, actually a futon from IKEA, defiantly unstylish, and considered her request. The children were the most innocent victims in all this. They deserved careful handling of their father's unraveling narrative. I'll meet you for coffee next week, I replied. Just us. A new notification popped up. My banking app confirming. The closure of all joint accounts with Michael. Diana had handled the financial separation expertly, ensuring I kept what was rightfully mine while disentangling our shared assets. The wedding fund had been donated entirely to charity, a women's shelter specializing in helping victims of emotional abuse and manipulation. The sun was setting over Manhattan, casting unfamiliar shadows in my new space. I hadn't hung any art. Yet, the walls were blank canvases waiting for new stories. On my small desk, a single frame held a photo of me from graduate school, before I'd met Michael. I was laughing at something off camera, completely unself-conscious. "You're different now," Lisa had observed during our last lunch meeting. "Lighter somehow." She was right. Without the constant performance of perfection, I'd started remembering who I was beneath the role Michael had cast me in. The curator who got excited about obscure artists, who could spend hours rearranging a single gallery wall until it told exactly the right story. The woman who snorted when she laughed too hard and preferred takeout to fine dining. A draft email sat in my inbox, waiting to be sent to my gallery mailing list. Upcoming exhibition. Real, Unreal. An exploration of authenticity in the age of curated lives. My first major show since the revelation, and I was done hiding behind safe commercial choices. The radiator clanked loudly, breaking my reverie. In my old life, I would have called maintenance immediately, demanding perfection. Now I just smiled at the temperamental personality of my new home. Real life wasn't perfect. Real life clanked and creaked and sometimes needed time to warm up properly. My phone buzzed one last time. Another text from Lisa. "James lost a tooth today. First time he didn't call his father to share the news." Small changes, rippling outward. All of us learning to build new stories, new traditions, new ways of being authentic. I looked around my small, imperfect apartment and felt something I hadn't expected. Peace. This space wasn't a performance. It was just mine, with all its flaws and possibilities. Time to start filling these blank walls with real stories. The final settlement documents arrived on a Tuesday morning, their legal language stark and definitive. Diana had arranged for Lisa and me to review them together in her office, a gesture of solidarity that felt appropriate for the occasion. "All accounts are officially separated," Diana explained, highlighting key sections. "The fraud investigation is concluded. Michael has agreed to the terms, including the supervised visitation schedule for the children." Lisa traced her finger along the signature line of her divorce decree. "He tried to contact me again yesterday. Said he's been seeing a therapist working on himself." "Let me guess," I said. "He's gained new insight into his behavior and wants to explain everything." Almost word for word. She smiled wryly. "The therapist's probably real, though. His company made it a condition of his severance package." The investigation into Michael's professional conduct had revealed no financial misconduct. He'd been too careful for that. But his reputation was irreparably damaged. Last we'd heard, he'd taken a position with a smaller firm in Toronto, starting over with a clean slate, or so he claimed. I picked up my own stack of papers. Legal acknowledgement that my engagement had been fraudulent. Release of all claims to joint property. Formal documentation of the end of a relationship that had never been legally real in the first place. "The ring?" Diana asked. "Sold." I handed her the receipt. Added the proceeds to the shelter donation. She nodded approvingly, adding it to the file. "That concludes the formal separation of assets. Now, about the sealed records." "No," Lisa and I said simultaneously. Diana smiled. "I thought not. Michael's lawyer has asked 3 times. Of course he had. Sealing the records would help him maintain control of the narrative, keep his perfect facade intact for future performances. But we'd agreed. The truth would stay in the light. My phone buzzed. A message from Michael's mother. "Amy's art show is next month. She asked if you'd come. No pressure, just, she misses her gallery talks with you." The text brought unexpected tears. During the months of legal negotiations, I'd maintained a careful relationship with Michael's parents, particularly around the children. They'd turned out to be unexpected allies, their own guilt about enabling Michael's deception making them fierce advocates for transparency and healing. "The university inquiry is finished," Lisa reported, tucking her papers into her briefcase. "No professional repercussions. My department chair actually thanked me for handling it so discreetly." Her Tenure was secure, her research continuing. She'd even incorporated elements of her experience into her work, exploring themes of authenticity and community structures. Next month, she was giving a keynote on truth and transparency in social ecosystems. "Will you go to Amy's show?" she asked, noticing my distracted expression. "I think so." I met her eyes. "If you're comfortable with it. The children need honest adults in their lives." She closed her briefcase with finality. "Besides, your gallery talks were the real deal. Not part of his performance. The real deal." The phrase caught me. So much of the past months had been about separating authentic connections from carefully crafted illusions. The process had been painful, but clarifying, like cleaning an old painting to reveal its true colors. Diana gathered the last of the documents. "Once these are filed, it's officially over. You can both move forward." Move forward. I thought about my new exhibition, opening next week. About Lisa's research and the children's evolving understanding of their father. About Michael in Toronto, probably already crafting his next perfect narrative. "It's been filed," Lisa corrected gently. "We've been moving forward for months. This is just paperwork catching up to reality." She was right. The legal resolution wasn't an ending, but a formal acknowledgement of changes already made, choices already taken, growth already achieved. "One last thing," Diana said, pulling out a final envelope. "Michael sent this for the file. Letters for each of you. Your choice whether to read them." Lisa took hers without hesitation, years of academic discipline evident in her direct approach. I held mine, feeling its weight, emotional rather than physical. "You don't have to decide now," Diana said. "No," I said. "I do." I handed the unopened letter back to her. "Add it to the file. Maybe someday I'll want his explanation, but write." "Now I'm more interested in writing my own story." Lisa nodded approval, tucking her own unopened letter into her briefcase. We'd come so far from those first shock discoveries, those careful comparisons of evidence. Now we were just two women choosing our own paths forward, carrying wisdom. "Earned through pain. Coffee?" Lisa suggested as we left Diana's office. "I want to hear about your new exhibition." "Perfect," I said. And for once, the word held no hidden meanings, no careful performance. Just a simple truth, freely offered and honestly meant. 1 year later, I stood in my gallery studying a new business card. Emma Sterling, curator and a artistic director. The promotion had come after the success of Real Unreal, which had drawn international attention for its unflinching exploration of authenticity and deception in modern life. The New York Times review still hung in my office. Sterling transforms personal tragedy into universal truth, asking vital questions about the performances we demand from ourselves and others. What the reviewer didn't know was how many of those questions I'd had to ask myself first. My phone buzzed. A text from Lisa. Amy won first prize in the school art show. Her piece about family truth was surprisingly insightful for a fifth grader. I smiled, remembering the quiet conversations we'd had with Amy over the past year, answering her questions with age-appropriate honesty. She'd channeled her confusion and pain into art, just as I had. Some genes, at least, were genuinely inherited. The gallery was preparing for a new exhibition, this one featuring emerging artists exploring themes of identity and transformation. My assistant, my real assistant, not a convenient fiction, was hanging the final pieces. "Your 10 o'clock is here," she called. "The artist from Seoul?" I gathered my notes, pausing to straighten a frame that sat slightly askew. In my old life, the imperfection would have bothered me until it was fixed. Now I rather liked it. A small reminder that beauty doesn't require perfection. News about Michael arrived occasionally through various channels. He'd remarried in Toronto, this time to a corporate lawyer. I wondered if she knew his history, if he'd learned anything about authentic connection, or if he was simply crafting a new performance with more careful safeguards. But his story wasn't mine anymore. I'd stopped trying to understand him and focused instead on understanding myself. Why I'd been drawn to his perfect performance, why I'd ignored the subtle signs, what I'd been seeking in that carefully curated life. Dr. Warner had helped me. See how my own perfectionism had made me vulnerable to Michael's manipulation. You were both performing, she'd observed. His role was just more elaborate. The insight had changed how I approached everything: my work, my relationships, my self-presentation. The new Emma Sterling wasn't perfectly styled or meticulously controlled. Some days my laugh was too loud, my opinions too sharp, my emotions too close to the surface. I was gloriously, authentically imperfect. A new text lit up my phone. Caroline reminding me about dinner. I'd started dating again, cautiously at first, then with growing confidence. Not searching for perfection this time, but for genuine connection, whatever form it might take. Lisa had found her own path forward. Her research into community authenticity had earned her a prestigious grant. The children were thriving under the shared custody arrangement, though James still struggled with trust issues. Michael's supervised visits had become less frequent, his performance perhaps harder to maintain under the watchful eyes of court-appointed observers. My gallery talks now included a segment on authenticity in art appreciation. Look for the flaws, I told visitors. The places where the artist's hand trembled, where the line isn't quite straight, where humanity shows through the technique. That's where you'll find the truth. The same could be said for life. I picked up a photo from my desk, not a carefully staged professional shot, but a candid moment from Amy's last art show. Lisa and I flanked her as she proudly held up her painting, all of us laughing at something James had said off camera. A real moment, unplanned and imperfect. My new apartment had slowly filled with such moments: candid photos, student artwork, found objects that spoke to me. No more careful curation of appearances, no more performance of an ideal life. Just the gradual accumulation of authentic experience. The gallery's front door chimed. My 10 o'clock appointment had arrived, an artist whose work dealt with themes of revelation and concealment. She'd created a series about the masks we wear and the faces we hide. How fitting, I thought, straightening my new business card on the desk. Some performances end in tragedy, others in transformation. The trick is knowing the difference between playing a role and becoming your true self. Ms. Sterling? My assistant appeared at the door. They're ready for you. I gathered my notes and stood, catching a glimpse of myself in the gallery window. A year ago, I would have checked my reflection obsessively, adjusting every detail. Now I simply smiled at the image of a woman I was still getting to know, still learning to trust, still discovering every day. I'm ready, I said. And for the first time in a very long time, it wasn't a line in someone else's script. It was simply, perfectly true.